Hi, are you stuck with somebody difficult in your surrounding? Is there a colleague, boss, or somebody at work, or some family member, somebody you cannot avoid, who's pushing your buttons and making your life difficult? Well, if that's the case, then listen in. Welcome to this broadcast because this is what we are going to be talking about today: how to deal with difficult people. My name is Alena Gomez Rodriguez. I'm a trauma informed mental fitness coach, and that mental fitness piece is really important today. And credits to Shirzad Shamin and Positive Intelligence, because this is exactly what mental fitness helped me with, that helps my clients, women that I work with. And I find it much more useful than any of those communication skills and techniques that you can find out there. And there are many of them. So why? Let me explain all of this. So let's think about somebody who's getting on your nerves. So if you're listening here, it's because you have a certain name on your mind and maybe a face that you can see when you think about it. So who's that? Like, who's the one that really gets on your nerves the most these days? Get that face in front of you. Now, what you might have tried before, especially if it's somebody in your professional environment and you cannot avoid them, if it's, let's say, a bullying boss or like really annoying colleague, you might have tried reaching for some like books and strategies on how to deal with difficult people and different communications techniques, even on like edging a little bit with manipulation. It's like, how do you make people do what you want? Because usually the challenge is that the difference in expectations, right? Because they are being who they are, but your expectations are different. You are getting annoyed by that because you think it should be different. You deserve better, or that's not how things are done. So there's a difference in your expectations as well. And this is what triggers your judge, your inner critic, right? That's why you label them difficult. Because there are lots of other people who are different around you, but they are not pushing your buttons. This particular one is pushing your buttons because it's crossing somewhere with your beliefs about what it should be and what you deserve to be. And it's costing you a lot of energy right now, and it's making your life miserable. So that's why it's worth looking into it. And that's why it's worth checking maybe a different approach, one that will not cost you that much energy and where you will not feel like a manipulator and where you will actually get some results. So what is that first step to do that? First step, reframe. So rather than seeing them as difficult, which means it's really your inner critic who's out there, switching over to your part of the brain that's the Jedi, that's the one that's able to see clearly through any difficulty, and labeling them or starting to see that person as your personal, not a fitness trainer, but mental fitness trainer. They're the one who will help you get better in some way. Now, if it sounds crazy, just stay with me for 1 minute. I will explain how. There are 3 ways. There are 3 ways how you can turn this struggle into a gift or opportunity. First way, just play with me. Gift of knowledge. So the key coaching question here is, what is the wisdom that you would have to learn from this experience, from this relationship, that would make the pain that you're feeling right now, it would make it worth it in the end, in the long run? What is the wisdom? What is the knowledge that you would have to learn from this experience so that it would make this whole annoyance worth your time and energy? Example. One of the things that are really difficult are either people you work with or your family. Like, if you think that you're already zen, like, just go and spend some more time with your family, right? Like, this is where my biggest triggers are coming from. And typically, I'll be open about it, it's my brother. The gift of knowledge I got once I started looking at our relationship through this lens, like, what can I learn? Like, how can he become my Jedi trainer? was when I started looking underneath, like, why is he triggering me so much? Why is he being so annoying? And rather than why is he being annoying, I started looking at underneath what's underneath our relationship. And I realized that this is basically the way we were raised. It's not even our fault. We were raised to be very competitive with each other and constantly compare ourselves to each other, but also to others. So we had very, very strong inner critic in our head, and controllers and perfectionists. And this just, we were triggering each other. Like, that's where it was coming from. As much as I found him difficult, he felt exactly the same way about me. So once I realized that, and I saw how we were triggering each other and how we were finding each other difficult, I managed to shift. And as this famous quote goes, like, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that was a turning point in our relationship. I didn't have to change him. I didn't do anything I didn't send him to any communications course or how to be a nice brother. But the moment I started seeing what's really happening, why I find his comments like mean or nasty, I realized it's not actually him, it's his inner critic, and it's coming from there, from the past. It has nothing to do with me. It has all to do with him. So that was the point when I stopped being triggered. I stopped fueling up this mutual, like, downward spiral of destruction. And we were able to start having normal conversations. And I didn't have to be like mentally bracing myself every time we were supposed to meet and have a conversation. Okay, so that's one. Another one, if there's really somebody bullying you, an example of how you can turn this into a gift of knowledge. I had a recent example with my daughter. She was having a tough time with somebody, her classmate at school, who was bullying her, like, physically and mentally. And of course, if you're being bullied, and especially if it gets like physically abusive, get out of there as soon as you can. Reach for professional help. Like, get help. Okay, you should not be listening to this. Like, get help. Get out of there as soon as possible. Okay, don't waste your time, and get safe. So as soon as we did that, as soon as we like tried to figure out with the teachers how to make sure she's safe and she doesn't get physically hurt, of course our first advice was get out of his proximity whenever he comes at you. But we also had to take care of her emotional aspect around it, because she was stressed, even being in the classroom, even though he didn't do anything to her most of the time, but he was stressed just knowing that he's sitting there somewhere. It was weighing down on her. So if there's somebody like that in your environment, think also through your own example. What I did with my daughter that helped her the most was to explain that really only hurt people hurt others. The fact that he's hurting her and that he's not sensitive to her pain and he doesn't care that she's being hurt speaks to the fact that he's carrying so much of his pain that he cannot, like, there's no more capacity in him to sense somebody else's pain, because he's hurting even more because somebody else hurt him. So having compassion, not telling her that she should go with open arms while he kicks her in her legs, like, that's not the case. Like, get away from that person as soon as you can. Be safe. But once you're safe, let it go. Like, this is the way to let it go, so that it doesn't keep eating you up inside, because that person can already move out and they are hurting somebody else, or they are doing whatever. They don't even think about you, but you're still thinking about them. You're still drinking that mental poison. You're still being stressed, and it's still affecting your body in a very negative way. So this I found was very useful, even with a 4-year-old, to help her understand that it's only hurt people who hurt others intentionally. And if they don't do it intentionally, it's because, like, whatever stuff happened in the past. You don't have to be there, shrink. You don't have to figure it out. Just realize this has nothing to do with you. It has all to do with them. If they're hurting others, it probably means they're even more hurt themselves. So there's no reason for you to get worked out around this. Okay. Gift of knowledge or wisdom. That's one thing how you can turn it around. And you can let me know more examples as I'm going through mine. Like, this is what I personally went through. You can think about your own examples. How could you turn this into a gift of knowledge? And you can let me know afterwards. Second way how you could turn this into something positive is a gift of power. If you cannot avoid them, if it's really your boss and there's no way you can get away from him or her, how can you turn this relationship or experience into opportunity for you to strengthen your mental muscles, your resilience, your resistance? And my own personal example, my daughter is really my best Jedi trainer. Classic evening tantrums when she's already so tired. And that makes me even more tired because I'm exhausted at the end of the day. And there used to be times when we were just like, I felt like crying and screaming when she was crying and screaming. So, how do you take this opportunity to build your mental muscles? And actually, it starts with the gift of knowledge in the first place, because you realize, like, what is the tantrum in the first place? And it doesn't matter if the tantrum is your child or your boss. Like, it's really about them. What's happening for them in the first place? It has nothing to do with you. And this is the strength piece. The fact that in the moment you're able to realize it, and rather than your buttons being pushed and you reacting with either the same force, or if you have avoider like in you that you're trying to like get away from there and like pretend there's no conflict, no harmony, and I'll be the good girl, just please don't be mad with me. The moment you realize what's happening, what buttons are being pushed in you, what's happening for them, then you can like you shift the perspective and you're able to stay in your Jedi, like laser focused but calm mode. Okay. So start using this as a way to practice staying in your center, not let anybody catch you and start spinning with you in their tornado. Start practicing and start practicing on something easy, some easier relationships. Rather than those really the most difficult are the family or children. So start practicing with somebody difficult, but who you're less attached to, so that you start building up the muscles, and then you can work it to for the bigger challenges over time. Okay. Because like this is some black belt training, be able to resist having a tantrum together with your child. So be compassionate with yourself as well. It's okay to not get it right at the beginning. Okay. Third, so we went first gift of knowledge, second gift of strength, third gift of inspiration. If you think about like tough situations, the classic example was COVID. COVID hit, so many people had to reinvent themselves and their job, profession, or business. They had to find a new way. So COVID was very negative experience, very even life-threatening, and like money losing for so many people. But those who managed to turn it around, it's because they looked at it as an opportunity to innovate, like, and get inspired. And what is maybe something that I wouldn't be doing if everything was a smooth sailing? Okay. This is very difficult for those who have a controller part, like controller saboteur, as we call it in mental fitness, because you're thinking like you want to keep swimming in your lane because that's comfortable, and you want to control the things, and you already know how it's going. You already like know the way. You don't like disruptions. You don't like change. So this is like a nightmare for you. And it's the same with relationships. You want to keep having predictable relationships. You want to be able to control the outcome and what other people's outputs are, or what they're doing results. The moment somebody difficult shows up, it's like, ugh. But this is the gift of inspiration. So how can I change my lane? What is it that I have not been doing or not seeing? What is the opportunity that can be even better rather than this? So in cases that you can escape your boss, like can you get a new job? What opportunity that might be, even for something better. If you cannot escape your boss, what are some other ways how you can handle your interactions? how you can turn it around. What are some other people that are maybe able to get along with your boss? Then, like, what are their strategies? So having a look at the bad thing that the inner critic, the judge in you, who judges not only you and others, but situations as well, that your judge wants to label this as this is bad and this is difficult. And if you have a victim saboteur, it's like, poor me, and I don't deserve this. So looking at it from the perspective, well, how could I make this worth the pain in the long run again? What is the new opportunity here? And there are examples of people as well who, like, their house burned down and they managed to like, in the 1 month that they had to spend in a hotel, they wrote a book, and they completely, like, shifted even their career and perspective and everything. And then they made so much money that they rebuilt even better, bigger, more beautiful house. Like, those are, you hear stories like that all the time. Those are the big things, big examples, and you're thinking like, yeah, that's out there. But what is it for you? That's the invitation. All it takes is one little tweak. You don't have to rebuild your new house completely. You don't have to, sometimes you don't have to change your job. You don't have to change the company to avoid a difficult person. What is the one little thing that you can start doing today differently that will start changing the dynamics of your relationship or interactions with that difficult person? Okay? So I hope it inspired you a little bit. I would love to hear from you. You can send me an email or comment here. Which one of these gifts would you choose to apply or think about at least? Gift of knowledge, gift of strength to build up your muscles, or gift of innovation, inspiration? Yeah. If you'd like to dive in deeper, because you're like, yeah, those are all nice things just to do blah, blah, blah about, but I have much more difficult challenge, and I would be curious what you have to say about that. So book a consultation with me. I'll put the link in the comments as well. Let's have a look at your difficult person, because that's my challenge for you as well. Try not to find even one way how you could see this as a gift or opportunity. Here's the credits again. Shirzad Chamin, positive intelligence, genius and a hero behind all of this. I didn't make it up myself. I just applied it in my life, and I'm applying it with my clients every day, and it's just miracles. And it's so much easier than all of these like manipulative communication strategy where you have to think like to outsmart the other one. It's like a chess game, one getting ahead of the other to manipulate the outcome and control the outcome of your conversation. It's not aligned with who I am. If it's not aligned with who you are, this approach might be actually much more centered and authentic, because it all starts with compassion for you and for others. Reminder again, if there's really somebody abusive to you, get out first. Be safe. Okay? I hope this was helpful. Let me know, and see you next week.